If I am passionate and he is passionate, it can be really passionate.
You don't like your girlfriend, you love your girlfriend.
Oh my god, I can't keep talking about the same freaking thing. Like, let's move on.
Would you rather date someone from here or a foreigner?
I wish I could date someone from here, but I just cannot, match.
I think I can date foreigners and Mexicans because everybody's welcome here.
You're gonna get a lot of DMs.
It's true.
This is the funny part. I have never dated a Mexican man. Never. In my perspective, Mexican men can be too traditional sometimes for my liking. For example, if you dressed up too sexy, it might not vibe with him.
Why can't you match? What do you feel is kind of in the way?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I have a type into like the men I like, which are like blondies with like light eyes and all that. The people from Mexico that are like that are whitexicans, and they're like, we have a term that it's called mamones, rude and all like reserved and like a lot of stereotypes, and it's boring.
If I have to choose, I will say a foreigner. For example, I date someone from Korea and from Germany, two countries different, and also Mexicans.
I think both are good. Mexicans have their good things. For example, they're very warm, they're very nice. You always will feel that you're being taken care of. On the other hand, I think that, for example, I've dated Europeans and they are very direct. They will tell you that they love you only when they feel it, and they're, in my experience, more loyal.
We are very passionate. If I am passionate and he is passionate, it can be really passionate. There is the possibility that everything in the bedroom is like really crazy like that and passionate and amazing. But then it's gonna be the same also with arguments, and that's not gonna be so great.
I consider myself a woman that talks about really hardcore and deep stuff. So for Mexican men, getting confronted like that, it's awkward, and they don't want to go out of the comfort zone.
I think on abroad maybe it would be more interesting. I'm a person that I really curious about what's happened outside of these borders. And I don't know, maybe Mexicans are a little bit, I don't want to say toxic, but the relationship turned into toxic because there's a big drama, soap opera, jealous.
Would you prefer to date someone from here or a foreigner?
I would like to date both. When you're dealing with Mexicans, you have that shared culture, and I love that. Whereas when you're dealing with a foreigner, and you're telling that you have a certain issue, for example, with your family, they might not understand what you're talking about. There was this Czech girl that was angry with me because I was just like, why do you keep talking to your mom? It's our culture. That's the way we do things here. It's rude not to do it, you know? I'm being like a disgraceful son if I'm not talking to my mom.
Is there like an average that people typically see their parents here?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people they are still in their 30s and 40s and still live with their parents, especially men that do not want to grow up. We have a thing called mamitis. It's a mom-itis, something like that. Yeah.
So you had mentioned that you've dated someone for 3 years and he's from Mexico, correct? Yes. Yeah, he's from Monterrey. What has that experience been like? I think in Canada, and forgive me if I'm just stereotyping here, but it's like happy wife, happy life. So a lot of the times the female can make the decision. The female does make the decision and the man just kind of flows with it. Whereas here, the man makes the decision. That was something that phased in our relationship as well, as like I did want to make the decision a lot of the time and he wanted to make the decision a lot of the time, so we would have to just kind of like, okay, your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn, but there was always a little bit of disagreement. It was like this feeling of like, who's wearing the shoes this time around? 50% guilty.
First time I was in Germany, I had a girlfriend, and like in Mexico, we tend to pay always, like usually men tend to pay. So she wanted to pay or to split the count into two, and I was actually offended by that, because in Mexico, if a girl tells you like I want to pay half, that means that she doesn't want anything to do with you. So when my girlfriend in there told me that, I was like shocked. I was like, but you're my girlfriend.
I don't think that I'm a macho. Maybe, well, something that I do that is really normal, but like we want like to help her. That's like this chivalry that we have like to open the door, trying to help her if she having like a problem. I do that, but for example, you have to do the food or you have to clean the house. No, that doesn't happen. In my case, I'm not that kind of person, and that's why I also have like this confrontation here in Mexico, because right now we have like this moment of change, so you don't know if they want 50-50, they want to, you have to pay everything, so it's a little bit confusing.
From which countries do you generally date guys?
I never really thought that that would be the case for me, but it's been mostly Americans and Canadians. And I'm gonna get into a maybe controversial topic here, but I think Europeans are not very generous when it comes to getting the bill and stuff like that. That's when I'm hypercritical. I'm like, oh, like I don't like the traditional part, but that part I want it to be traditional.
So, what is important for you when starting to date someone? Is it important that they pay on the dates? Is it important that they give you flowers, that they check in with you all the time?
Yes, yes, because I mean, it's not that because I am not an independent woman. It's because sometimes men, they don't want to do an effort.
Does it have to be an expensive place, or can it be any place? Like, what's your expectation usually?
I don't go to parks, not coffee dates. We can go to a restaurant, maybe not the most expensive in the world, but a nice restaurant, or can be expensive as well.
Do Mexican guys typically pay?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. You can put an effort because I did my effort, like to be here, looking good. Yes, for me, but for our date.
What if you put in an effort to look good? I'm playing devil's advocate here.
No. I think internet is going to hate me.
If a woman offers to pay for you on the first date, what is your reaction?
I would always offer to pay. Like, as a Mexican, I was raised like that, so I would always offer to pay. But if she tells me like, no, I want to pay half, I would say, okay, that's nice.
For example, we go out 10 times. He gets 7 of those bills, right? And 3 I surprise him. Or maybe me for like special occasions. I am like, hey, I want to take you out because it's Valentine's Day or it's your birthday and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So special occasions, I'm super happy to be the one doing something for him. But on day-to-day life, I think it gets too much for me to every single bill that we when we go out, like splitting it. It's not how I was raised.
Millennials were about the fiercest feminists that we have here in Mexico City, for example. They were changing everything, but then when I started meeting Gen Zs, they were starting to get back to some of the older patterns, like I want to get married and I want a traditional family, and it was very weird to me to notice that change.
Like, do you want to get married?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I want to get married. Yes.
Would you be comfortable being married to someone and doing like cooking and the cleaning? Is that something you would still be comfortable with doing, or do you feel like no, not my generation?
Yes, I can do that, and it doesn't have to be bad because, as I mentioned, when you have a partnership with someone, those things are not like heavy work for you because you can do that for love, and at the same time you can create a team at your home. It's part of my love languages.
Nice.
Showing others that I love you.
I am actually very into the cleaning part and the cooking part. I'm not a super great cook, but like every time that I'm in a relationship, I always try to do my best. I'm like, hey, like tonight I'm cooking for you, right? It is nice to have some of the modern values, that a woman can speak up and have, that she can actually wear what she wants and stuff like that. But I think that too much of a 50-50 relationship, then it doesn't really make me feel taken care of. And it's like, then why are we together?
Do you feel like the telenovela culture has affected the way people think about dating?
For sure.
He could speak more about emotions and talk more about it, and I was like, okay, we've dealt with it, move on, next. Where it was like, no, let's keep talking about it. Let's keep talking about it. Oh, remember that time? And I was like, oh my God, I can't keep talking about the same freaking thing. Like, let's move on.
We tend to say I love you basically from the first time, especially when you're like young. I love you for us is just like a part of our checklist. We tend to say it and don't feel it. And they when they say it, Europeans, they feel it. So It's a little bit more of a serious relationship.
It's something like an expectation that you should be saying that, otherwise why are you together? Is that what it is, or just that you feel it in the moment?
Yes, for example, if you say I like you to a girl in Mexico, if you're dating her, they might be offended because it's like you don't like your girlfriend, you love your girlfriend.
In one relationship, in the first week, she told me like I love you, and like mi amor or something like that. And in another relationship, she broke up with me like 6 weeks because she told me the reason because I didn't love her in 6 weeks.
Men are really get used to do love bombing here. The men in the north of our country are more like they love to pamper you, and they are sometimes gentlemen.
Do you think that like they feel like women need to hear the words I love you? Like, do they feel like they need to do that to win the woman's attention?
We like to hear beautiful words of love, but you have to show me. ¿Cómo se llama? Actos de amor. Ajá, love languages. Exacto.
What's your love language?
My love language? Gifts and
Acts of service.
maybe they are going to think that I'm Teresa or Ruby or something like that.
Pues qué suerte la tuya, ¿eh? Un novio rico y encima guapo.
Is it true that Mexican men are very romantic? That's a stereotype, at least.
I think so. I think, especially at the beginning, we tend to be like super romantic. There are a lot of things that we tend to do, like bring flowers or chocolates, or even like bring a serenata, which is like you bring mariachis and they sing in the balcony of a girl.
Have you ever serenaded a woman?
Not yet. I will.
Let's say you're dating someone for 4 months and they still haven't said I love you.
Maybe that's not the right place.
So you want them to feel passionately, like as soon as possible, ideally.
Yeah, why not?
I know that passion is important in a relationship, but yeah, in Mexico we have unfortunately a big problem with the violence in the relationships. A lot of people here consider that some toxic behavior like romantic. No, for example, many people consider that jealous are very romantic, but no, I don't think so.
Also, there are like these kind of comments like you say like if he isn't enough jealous of me, he doesn't love me. You have to do like this kind of where are you coming home or can I go with you, that kind of stuff. Like a little bit they want that because they look like this kind of okay, he cares about me.
To be honest, if you're a foreigner, you have an easy trip here. If you are tall, blonde, blue or green eyes, white, you will be in a very, very acute advantage. However, if you're a foreigner and if you're, for example, shorter in your country and you come to Mexico, because the average height of Mexican, both male and females, is lower than, for example, the US, Canada, Western Europe, you will have an advantage still. It's, yeah, I mean, one has to be honest about it.